Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, the right theme artist, and wait, no, hang on, that's not how it goes. I'm a VTuber, and I'm also an artist, and I'm also rice themed. Anyway, I'm Pabs. How you doing? Today we'll be working on an art fight attack for. Hang on, I'm gonna pull it up here. A user called dooblebear, who is also a streamer like I am, also a VTuber. Very cool bear themed VTuber. And this is the character that we'll be working with, Dr. Sanchez. So what I really liked about this character is just how like fun he looked. Like it just seemed like a lot of fun to draw this guy. So what I kind of wanted to do is almost like, hang on, let me change the canvas size. You know what? I can't actually change the Hang on, what the? No way. What? Hang on, extend Okay, so for shits and gigs, I tried the extend canvas option, but now I'm getting this menu here. Hang on, so can I just like, if I do like 700 pixels, what's that going to? Okay, so it just adds on top. Okay, it looks like it just adds stuff on top, which is that makes sense actually. That makes sense for what it does, but like, is it not weird? I feel like that's a little weird. Anyway, I wanted to try something with this one. I kind of wanted to try basing it on a move. I'm not sure which one just yet, from Guilty Gear. So this is Dr. Faust, also a very silly doctor. Yeah, the character for Dr. Sanchez describes him as a plasmoid artificier doctor who can be likened more to Zoidberg in intelligence. Loose concept on humanoid gender, and an even looser concept of anatomy and physiology. His passion is to build technology alongside his medical prowess in order to be the best doctor. And maybe turn some people into robots, who knows. So I really wanted to do like a kind of very silly pose. This one might be too silly. That's actually a little bit disturbing. I didn't know Faust could do that. I gotta fucking look into some earlier Guilty Gear games, some of the gameplay, because I am very much a neophyte when it comes to the series. God. Oh. Crazy that he still has this move though. That's a 6H? Yeah, that's a 6H. Freaky ass doctor. Look at this guy. What do you need to do? What do you need to do that for? A move so good, even canceling it is integral to your kit. That's really funny. Actually, that pose is kind of fun. I might use something like that. But yeah, I wanted like this very kind of goofy, silly pose. So that's why I thought that pre-noodleification Faust would be an appropriate target for this. Boy! How many attacks have you done? This season or like in total? Because I actually looked the other day and I have done 52 attacks in total. Just this season though, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this would be the 10th. That's crazy. It's really insane just like how much of a spring in your step you get whenever you like release your obligations. Like genuinely, it's insane that I was able to do this much. I think like two of those I did off stream though. So maybe it's not that those don't count, but definitely that you know they've got a different texture to them. But yeah, let's grab. This one is still such an insane pose. What the hell is wrong with this guy? And he's even got like a tiny little dude with the. Wait, what is that? Why is there a tiny little buff dude coming out of your syringe? Ay, Dios. God, I love Faust. I kind of want to do something with this, actually. Hang on. An idea is formulating in my head. I don't know if it's a good one, if it's like feasible more like. It's definitely a good idea. I don't know if it's feasible within the time limit that we have for ourselves. This season. Yeah, no, we're on season. I'm on like season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of Art Fight? But yeah, this season I've done 9. Sorry, I was doing something. Yeah, no worries, no worries. But yeah, this season I've done 9. Hang on, let me get the web browser out of here. Silly, goofy little guy. Okay, so I'm very much thinking like an almost like rubber hose cartoon kind of look for the pose. Alright, so let's try this. Again, such a cute character design. I don't know, there's something very lovable about it. Okay, so it's also very good because it feels comfy to draw. Okay, so maybe sort of like this. Definitely some taper to the trunks here to make space for the legs. Okay, so this is a pretty good building block. The John Lennon foot stance is kind of insane. Have you ever seen that picture of John Lennon walking? Hang on. Actually, you might even be able to use it as a reference. Here we fucking go. 1971. He was doing this shit all the way back then. Really good picture. Can you? This was like the kind of time and era when you could be considered the funniest person in the world by busting out this move. Physical comedy stocks were at an all-time high back in those days. Very bullish market. Also, hang on. There's some kind of singing going on outside my apartment. I don't mean to harsh the vibe, but I can't have that distracting me. I'll be right back. Okay, I should be fine. It should all be good now. Oh, I couldn't hear it. Are you telling them to shut up, Pav's Wrath? Nah. Listen. I don't have an ounce of hate in my body. I've got a gram of hate or so, but that's not enough to like yell at people for just having a good time. It's actually quite a common occurrence that people are singing near my house. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because like we're close to like a not necessarily not busy, but like a lot of foot traffic area. So I think it's like a very common place for events and such. But yeah, no, I wouldn't tell them to shut up. It has nothing to do with me. They're free to it's a free country. They're allowed to sing obnoxiously if they wanna. Oh wait, no, there's like ball joints on the hips. Oh, that changes everything actually. Okay, and there's going to be this right down the middle. And I feel like I need to make the chest a little taller. Okay, so we're going to have it like this. I feel like the neck would kind of go up like this. Maybe a metal base for the glass jar. It must feel kind of good as hell to be a goo creature and get like knocked around inside a jar. I don't know. You know how how there's like those massage chairs that aren't really massage chairs, but they just like vibrate you? I imagine it must be a little bit like that. I do think I need to make the circumference of this whole thing a little smaller, though. Okay, then... sort of like this. Maybe a little smaller than that, actually, or maybe a little shorter. So I want to draw it almost like a sort of fluid sloshing around in there. The eyes seem to be pretty consistently arranged here. They're not like what do you call it? Independently operable. It does look like they move in tandem. So maybe one up here and one down here. Okay. Liking what I'm seeing so far. There we go. Really big, really exaggerated proportions. Maybe that's a little too exaggerated, actually. I might have over-exaggerated. The Zillow listing is overpriced. Well, okay, that's true of any Zillow listing. But, you know. God. I was talking to my neighbor the other... Not at my neighbor. I was talking to a coworker the other day about how he and his family found the house that they live in. And... you know, apparently it was like a whole odyssey because they had just moved in from another country and it was a huge mess trying to like organize everything because apparently were a lot of like Goldilocks situations where where like it was too close to the street. It wasn't too close to the school that their kid went to, etc. And in one instance, he actually showed me a picture of a house that was suggested to them by, I think, maybe their realtor or like a Facebook Marketplace listing. And the house is literally like there was no walkway up to the house. Like it was highway, the house like in to the side of the highway, and then more highway. That was some crazy shit. God. I know we're in something of a housing crisis right now, but you can't just slap a roof on any old structure and call it a house. People are supposed to live there. Okay, maybe like this. I do like these like little metal studs on robotic characters. First of all, because they're easy enough to just add anywhere. And second of all, because they help to establish body lines without necessarily needing them. Okay. What I might do... Okay, I might add a stethoscope. What does a stethoscope look like? Let's refresh. Okay, that more or less looks like how I expected it to look. Maybe a little bar in the middle there. Okay, yeah. I think I was trying to go off of Guilty Gear Strive Faust's stethoscope, which is why I was getting turned around by this part. Okay, then I'm back here. Sort of like this, and then... I kind of want to give him a lab coat. Like to really play up the whole doctor thing. Or maybe some medical scrubs. What do those look like? Or is there like a medical apron? That might actually be the best fit because of the fact that it would cover... Hang on, medical apron. Okay, interesting. So it's not what I expected. It looks very much like it's a disposable apron, but that's actually a pretty good idea as well because that makes that makes a lot of sense actually. Yeah. Okay, the idea is coming together. I'm starting to see the vision. I don't know. I just think it's cool whenever robot characters wear cool clothes. Not even cool clothes, really. Just like clothes in general. Like, if it's a perfectly normal robot and it has, like, a thing of clothes that it just wears over its perfectly serviceable robot body, I don't know. I like that. I like that a lot. That might actually not work for this, so... What I could do is add big medical gloves. That's on the table, for sure. Okay, then maybe I don't know, what else do doctors wear? Like, what about those bonnets for... Yeah, hang on. Like those shower cap things that they wear for the purposes of surgery. Hmm. Okay, so the apron would fall kind of like this. Yup, okay, and then that's gonna tie backwards like this. It's gonna be a bit tricky figuring out the line work for this, but I have faith in myself. Yeah, okay. And then we can add... Okay, just put this... Maybe put the second eye somewhere else. No, that looks a little bit too much like he's looking directly at the camera. That's a little scary, actually. Hmm. Yeah, okay, that's much better. Oh, let's add those little plastic baggy shoes to the mix as well. Okay, and then... Yeah, that seems pretty good, honestly. Maybe I can look up medical waist apron? As in, like, waistband? Is that a thing? No, that is not a thing. All right, that's good though. I would be a little bit worried if if the healthcare professional in charge of my surgery was wearing like one of those little funny half waist aprons. I would be a little bit worried if my surgeon looked like they worked at TGI Fridays. Not that that's not a respectable place to work, but I just don't want. But I just don't feel like it would make me more comfortable. You know what I mean? Actually, I haven't heard the word about TGI Fridays in like some time. Weirdly, it's been like decades since I went to one of their locations. My family used to go there a lot when I was a kid, but like, yeah, because we had one near where the church was in our house? Question mark. No, that was a different place. No, yeah, no, that was a place. The place that was near our church was like in high school for me. Then the I don't know. I think we just liked TGI Fridays a lot. I think we really liked the breadsticks. They really got our ass good with the breadsticks. I remember that much. I kind of wanted to have the idea of like a side wrench with like the little goo coming out of the back. Maybe we can have that back here. Maybe almost like a... Maybe instead of the apron, what we can have is some... No, the apron's kind of nice, though. I like how it's like flowing behind back here. Maybe a little bit more like this, though. No. No. Let's just go back to how it was before. Although, hang on, this line's a little fucked up. There we go, that's much better. But yeah, maybe just like... Yeah, let's not be too ambitious. I think the Fausts there were good for like... vibe setting. Like, I think the Faust mood board helped in an intangible way, but it is not our fate to replicate it, sadly. Maybe some other time. I feel like we don't get enough characters in fiction who are like doctors, you know what I mean? It's always like they're mad scientists and they also have like medical knowledge. But very rarely are they straight up just like doctors. Like the only one that I can think of is like Tony Chopper from One Piece. And let's be real, somebody has to take up the role of like keeping those idiots together. That one guy from Fruits Basket? I haven't seen Fruits Basket actually. Hang on. Fruits Basket Doctor. Whoa, what's this guy's deal? Dr. Hato. Hattori Soma. You would like him. You would like it. It's such a lovely series. Aww. Look at this fucking guy. He looks like he hates you. He looks like he hates me. He does have a very kind of tormented look in his eye, which I can appreciate. He has a tragic past? Okay, listen. He is tormented. Listen. Just because you have a resting frown doesn't... Sometimes there is a reason that people have a resting frown. I get that. You know, you don't have to justify that to me. It is a little scary, though. Like, even if there's a good reason for it, it's always a little scary. What I might actually do this time, I think this would be a really good fit for this kind of style, actually. There was this one... I forgot what the actual practice is called, but there's essentially a method of drawing practice where you block out the silhouette first and then you fill in the details inside. And I feel like this would be a very good candidate for that style. I used it another time when I was drawing stickers for V, but again, I don't know. I think having like a very strong kind of thick line silhouette is really going to make this pop. This might be too thick, though. I'm going to trust in my heart. Okay, then over here. That's a really good line. I'm not gonna undo that one. I'm gonna reposition it. The other day, I was listening to this podcast where two people were using one of those like top 10 anime husbands and like top 10 anime wife girls, right? As like the topic for their conversation. They were making a tier list out of it. Fascinating stuff. I very quickly realized that a bunch of the stuff that was like, I don't know how to put it. There's just so much more these days. I feel like back in the day, like you had to cut your teeth on like one of like 15 different things, and that was it. That was like all your options available for like starting out watching anime. Like, you know, oh, you watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. You watched fucking Cowboy Bebop. You watched this or that or this or that. And, you know, it was very standardized procedure because there were like very few points of ingress. Lucky Star. Dog, I remember watching Lucky Star before I had like the cultural context to understand like 80% of the jokes. Those character designs are so banging, you don't even care if you don't understand half of the shit they're talking about. You see that whimsical blue-haired gal and you know you're in for a good time. You're so right, I need to rewatch it to understand now, right? I feel like you appreciate so much more of Lucky Star, that one can appreciate so much more of Lucky Star once you understand the fact that, like, Konata is genuinely, like, brain rotted, even by industry standards. I hold that series close to my heart. Aw, nice. Also, hi, Bunny. There are actually a few different places you can watch anime on YouTube, but I'm not about to start blabbing about them in case John, copyright holder, is listening in on this conversation. I can't forget that one time I saw that picture of somebody... Okay, so if you've ever read Chainsaw Man, there is a scene where a character is having a conversation with another, and the first character realizes that a second character might be listening in on their conversation. So, and he knows that the character can listen, but he also knows that they can't actually like see what's going on. So they start talking normally, like they're having some kind of, they're catching up on old times, but one of them is like holding up a notepad with what he actually wants to say. And I remember somebody editing this to make the guy say, "Never cook again." Meanwhile, the pad says, you did great." Something like this. And I haven't been able to get that out of my mind. It's always fascinating, the kind of approach they take to those situations, because it's not the first time I've seen that whole thing of like, oh, you know, the characters are being listened in on, so they pretend to have a normal conversation, but are actually talking about something important. There's a few different flavors that do it. I remember reading a webcomic a long time ago that had a situation like that where it was almost like a thieves' cant. So I haven't been able to rid myself of bits of things like Naruto Bridge. God. I am glad that I waited until I was like in late high school to watch any abridged series seriously. Because I feel like if I had done that at the wrong age, it would have like permanently fucked me up in terms of like my sense of humor and my capability of telling jokes. Like, you know how you're not supposed to lift weights until you're like 16 or something, because otherwise you're gonna fuck up your bone structure or like stunt your growth? Or like that's the same reason you shouldn't drink coffee until you're like 16 or something? I feel like something like that would have happened to my funny bone. That and a lot of abridged series, looking back, are just kind of cruel. That is something that I've noticed, is that a lot of the stuff that I found delightful from that kind of era of the internet was in a lot of cases, very needlessly cruel to its own characters and the people involved. I don't know, that makes it a little bit hard to look back on sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong, I like a funny asshole as much as the next bag of rice, but it's like sometimes you need to. I do appreciate more the kind of more modern humor where there is occasionally a bit of cruelty, but there's also a lot of sincerity. I appreciate that a lot. Okay, maybe something like that. God, I actually read up about Jerry curls the other day because there's this newsletter I subscribed to that actually brought them up as an example of cosmetic disintermediation, cosmetic disruption. Because the thing is, Jerry curls were named after the barber who could make them, something or other Jerry, right? And the process of putting on Jerry curls is very involved, and it can actually damage the hair quite a lot. So what they ended up doing was that this one black cosmetics company, they ended up making an at-home kit for Jerry curls, which sold like hotcakes because it simplified the process to the extent that, because usually you had to pay like upwards of $300 to like a hair salon visit, and an obscene amount to get these done, and you had to do it regularly because otherwise they would wear out. You couldn't wash your hair until you got them. You had to sleep with a shower cap and everything. It was all a very involved process, and it was very annoying. But then this one company made like a do-it-at-home kit for Jerry curls, and it changed everything. Which I imagine didn't make them very popular with hairdressers, except it kind of did, because then the hairdressers didn't have to spend all day doing the same fucking hairstyle for like 6 different people, and dealing with the logistics of everything. They could sell the Jerry curl kits from their store as well, so it would they would still benefit from the existence of it. It's quite a complex situation. I was surprised by how deep it could get. Dr. Blue Mask. Yeah, I'd forgotten like what the outside seams of like a normal face mask looks like. I've been using a box of single-use disposable face masks for quite a while now. They've lasted me quite some time. But the thing is that they're all like dyed black and shit. So I don't have a reference point for what like normal face masks look like. I've only recently realized how sinister I look in a lot of like my day clothes, because I wear a lot of like dark clothing. I wear like shirts and suspenders and shit. I feel like I look like an amateur supervillain sometimes. That's fine though. I'm happy as I am, so there's no real problem with it. I do think that if some random person started calling me like Megamind or some shit, that would probably hurt my feelings, but I haven't run into that scenario yet, so there's no use worrying about it. Whoops, where'd I go? There I am. Okay, so this is gonna go in like this. I'm very happy with how the style is working out for this, because I really like how bold it looks. I don't know how else to put it. It feels very cartoonish. It feels like something you would see on like a promotional poster for an old discontinued Cartoon Network show. I'm very happy with with the vibe that it's putting and giving out. Okay, and then like this. No, hang on. Yeah, that seems about right. Okay, so this is gonna go in like this. Or maybe actually more like this. Hang on, something about this doesn't seem right. Oh wait, it's the stethoscope, of course. Needs to be a little bit rounder, this curve here. This one could stand to be a little rounder too. Okay, then over here. Okay. Maybe not actually. Hang on. Maybe like this. Yeah, that feels more reasonable. Okay, and then it's gonna hang down like this. Maybe no curl on that straw, maybe. Yeah, I'm thinking no curl. Okay, yeah, this but bigger. That should work. Okay, like that, and then... Okay, this stethoscope is kind of fucked up. Let's have a little do-over on the silhouette there. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to use connect vector lines to... Well, connect vector lines. And then we're going to try and simplify those lines a little bit. What's with that? Hang on. There's like a tiny little corner node here. What are you doing, little guy? Get out of there. Okay, and then that's just gonna kind of curve inward like that. Perfect. God. Today, while I was at the office, there were a couple of those high-rise window washers working on the building next door, and I got to see them. You know, they did their thing. They squeegeed the glass, repelled down one of those ropes. It was pretty neat. And that I got curious actually though, because I was like, man, is that job not crazy stressful? So I Google searched it, and it turns out it's even worse than I thought. In fact, one of the things that like the official like that one of the union sites for the high-rise window cleaners said was, yeah, no, you need to watch these guys' mental health because if it deteriorates, they're at even more risk of having injury. And I'm like, more risk? So yeah. It's exactly as terrifying as I thought, which is comforting in a way, but also worse for a variety of reasons. I do think that window washing is one of those things that we should leave to drones for the most part. I do think that if we end up automating anything with drones, it should be high-rise window washing. Because let's be for real, if you want to be up that high for your day job, like whenever you automate something, right? Whenever you automate a process or create a robot that can do somebody's job for them. You know, this isn't speaking about like AI crap because that's a different thing. That's like genuinely stealing from those people, from the people they're replacing as well, which is crazy work. But yeah, in general, whenever you automate something, there is of course the risk that you're going to take away somebody's job. And, you know, that shit doesn't work out like in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like a lot of these people don't end up having jobs like re-examining the machines. They just end up losing their job, possibly forever. Which sucks. But like sometimes you have to like look at it and be like, okay, if we automated this job, would anybody actually miss doing it? And the answer in a lot of times, surprisingly, is yes. Like there are some people who do genuinely enjoy like, you know, serving coffee and doing stuff like that. They do enjoy that work. But then there's like high-rise window washing, which to me is a little bit more of a gray area. Because like I understand that you should have the freedom to enjoy that as your career if you so choose. I do also think that like keeping somebody away from a high place where they could fall is also good. I don't know. It's an interesting conflict of my principles because on the one hand, I believe that you should have the freedom to live as you like, but on the other hand, I do also think that living should also not necessarily include like having to abseil down a dangerous amount of height. So yeah, fascinating morning I've had. Okay, then over here. I've also been trying to think about like whenever I order stuff online or buy stuff online, I actually tend to do it in bulk. So unless I have one specific thing that I really, really want, if I'm just ordering stuff off of like an online retailer or something, I will usually wait until I have need or want for multiple things and then send out one big order. This has worked to my benefit in the past, but but right now I'm trying to. I was actually thinking about like trying to buy a couple different books for the purposes of filling out an order that I've been meaning to get together. I've been trying to look into more of those music making books, and there's actually a couple of them that I found that seem pretty compelling. There's one called Music Theory for Electronic Producers or something like that, which seems to be the go-to beginner course for basically exactly what I need. I read the excerpt of it that they have on the website for the book, and it explained scales and not scales actually. They didn't get the scales just yet. They explained sharp notes and flat notes in a way that was so succinct. I was like mad that I didn't read their explanation before I spent so much time banging my head against the wall with the fucking wiki books on music theory. That's something that I hadn't considered, is that music theory is usually taught as a sort of three-part system, and this is explained in the book. It's usually taught as a three-part system where you're able to like learn how to play piano, learn how to read music theory, and also learn how to like sight read the music notes so that you can like sing them to yourself in your head so you can understand what they sound like. And I imagine that's a very good, rigorous process for having a solid grasp of music theory and what should work well together harmonically. However, I ain't got time for all that. Though that is not the kind of resources I have at my disposal. I am like one guy with a copy of Reaper on his desktop computer. I'm not fucking learning how to how to do do re mi fa sol la to sheet music. So you know, I feel like the book understands kind of where I'm at, so I am hoping to get my hands on that one. Speaking of like wiki books and wiki source and whatever, I also want to try reading The Importance of Being Earnest, which is a short play that my friend V is reading for her VTuber book club, which seems fascinating. Okay. I didn't get to read The Importance of Being Earnest. I read Great Expectations, but not The Importance of Being Earnest. I do feel like if I try to get more into was this the same guy that did Great Expectations? Hang on, let me double check actually. Charles Dickens, I think his name is. No, Oscar Wilde did The Importance of Being Earnest. Okay, then Okay, maybe I'm getting my wires crossed between old Western classic literature authors. First performed February 14th, 1895. They did this shit on Valentine's Day? That's nuts. Okay. Okay, and then we can add a little bit of a black gap here. Maybe I'm approaching this from the wrong way. I feel like I'm too upside down right now. He did this so fast and it looks so fun to draw, right? The silhouette cell is genuinely such a blast to work with. Again, it has a formal name. I forget what it is. But yeah, fun pose, fun character. This is a real winner. Dios mediante, the coloring face won't kick my ass. Or am I for gore too? I think it's literally called like blocking or something. Hang on. It's called blocking me when I'm trying to explain fighting games to a new player. Silhouette, then detail drawing practice. Silhouette drawing ideas. Is it literally just called silhouette drawings? Contouring! It's called contouring. Contouring practice. Yes, contour drawing. I'm 80% sure that's what it's called. Hang on. Contour drawing is an art technique in which the artist sketches the style of the subject by drawing lines that result in a drawing that is essentially an outline. The purpose of contour drawing is to emphasize the mass and volume of the subject rather than the detail. Ah. Artistic techniques Wikipedia section. Oh, baby. Estofado. An artistic technique that imitates the appearance of gold brocade. The term comes from the Italian stoffa, fabric. Okay, that means something very different in Spanish. Kumbu. An ancient Korean gilding technique used to apply thin sheets of gold to silver to make silver gilt. Oh, that's such a pretty ring. I'm a huge fan of this texture. I think you do it by literally just dinging it with a small hammer until it takes the shape you want. But it's so pretty. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called contouring. I feel like that might not be it, but it's the closest that I can think of. Continuous line, traced line, cross contour. You know what? It's not important. We don't need to worry about all that right now. We still got plenty of work to do on this drawing. Not quite. We need to move that down just a tiny bit. Did the neck have lines? Yes, it had one singular line. Okay, so this is gonna kind of come in like this. This would be above. Okay, yeah. I don't like. Okay, I'm actually gonna backtrack because I'm gonna say it straight up. Drawing the kind of fabric of the plastic snagging onto the little bolts like that makes it look like the good doctor has hard nipples. I'm sorry. I can't live that way. I can't live that life. Robots shouldn't have nipples. I don't know if that's a particularly controversial take, but I don't want to think about it too much. Okay, then over here. Nope, no. Maybe, almost. You know what, fuck it, good enough. Can't help but feel like this part should be a little bit more rounded. Yeah, that's good. Okay, am I missing anything up here? Okay, then that's gonna go like that. Okay. That's gonna come in like this. Okay, we're gonna curve this off right around here. Are we almost done with the line art? That feels so weird. Usually this takes like an extra hour. Terrifying stuff. I don't think I'm suited to being efficient. I don't know, I like taking my sweet time with stuff, and it feels a little weird when I finish things too quickly. Like, people always tell me that I'm very fast at drawing, and that's nice, but but like, that's usually because it's just like a super quick edit that I'm doing, or like something that I'm drawing over with a base. That's like 40% of my power, maybe. But like, I'm taking this like normal style, and this one is. I'm kind of speedrunning this one. I don't know. It feels strange. It feels very novel to be able to do all that. Okay, then over here. Oh yeah. I'm liking how this one came out. Okay. Alright, how do we go about this? I think first things first, we do the usual thing of like getting a darkish color and then using the ice cream tool to fill it out. I think that's a good first line of defense. Okay. Arms have the same color as the torso. And so do the legs. The legs... Actually, no. The legs have a lighter color for the leg metal. The hips are the same color as the body, though. I kind of like that the design for the doctor is almost kind of germy in its own way. It feels germ adjacent. What color do they usually make the whatchamacallits? The hang on, surgeon hair net hair cap. Okay, it could be a number of different colors. It can be like bluish, whitish. I'm gonna go with this one here that looks like very a nice cyan color. Yeah, a little bit brighter. Nope, dang it. No, that looks a little bit too much like the color for the jar. So maybe... No. This is a Hang on, okay. I'm gonna put up a picture of, like, this thing that's very clearly supposed to be, like, a face model for this thing, and I want you guys to guess... This thing looks like a yassified northern lion. It's a little uncanny. I think this might be AI generated. Nope. It looks AI generated, but it also doesn't. What? This is from an AliExpress listing. Hang on. 404 error on AliExpress. We're on our own. There's no telling what the actual origin of this thing is. Now, this is definitely like AI generated. There's like a little bit of a spillage here that it looks... I want to say it's AI generated, but there's so many weird things about it. Like, okay, no, the chin molding out into the neck is a little bit weird. The glasses, it's such a weird amalgam because it looks like the glasses were like photoshopped on, but then they also cast a normal shadow. There's something very off-putting about this. Very evil. I don't want to look at it for any longer than I have to. I don't know. Is there like a different one of these that we could use? I mean, we could give it like a whitish tone. Ooh, wait, hang on. This works also. No, hang on. Okay, let's just do this normal. Let's just try not to approach this too rashly. Okay, like this. It's a nice contrast, actually, with the white and the darker color here. I might actually do something like that. No, that doesn't look right. Lighter color it is. This midsection here. Okay, this is his dark color, so that also needs to be a little bit lighter for under the screen wrap here. Oh shoot, I've missed a line here. Okay, and then we're going to use the same color for the neck, and presumably something similar for the base of the jar. Hang on, it's at this point that I should turn off my orange lighting effect on my end of the client. There's a phrase that I learned the other day that's old like IT support slang. It's called like hang on. It's spelled like this. PIBCAC. Like that. And what it stands for is problem between keyboard and chair. Which is basically a fancy way of saying, a fancy and covert way of saying, yeah, no, the program's fine. The user is just kind of a ding-dong. Surprisingly charming. I don't know, there's something very fun about it. Sometimes it is strange that the more advanced technology becomes, the more likely it is that there is just something in fact wrong with the program, because a lot of the programs that we deal with have been dumbed down to the extent that it's no longer like, oh no, I clicked the wrong button and now Word doesn't want to do what I want it to anymore. No, like genuinely now it's just like, hey, I was just using this program normally and Word decided that it was going to send like a tungsten rod deployed from Microsoft's private satellite array over to my house. What did I do wrong? And the top comment will be like a Microsoft resource being like, Lamau, yeah, no, don't worry, it just does that sometimes. Just hard reset your computer and it'll be fine. Should I make the mask blue? No. Maybe white gloves? White slippers? Nah. Hmm. Select color gamut. Maybe just a cap is what we need to change. Honestly, I do like the light blue on the scrub, on the like helmet thingy. Besides, we can make the actual doctor kind of this neon green so it doesn't nearly blend in as much. We can also do something with the jar, come to think of it. Yeah, we shouldn't leave out that possibility. Hmm. Oh, hey, there's actually a part here that's not supposed to be filled in. Fancy. Hmm. Stethoscope. Stethoscope is definitely one of those words where like you read it for the first time and then you think to yourself, if I get this on the spelling bee, I am well and truly fucked. There's a couple of words like that running around in the English language, but that's the main one that I can think of. Ironically, though, I still occasionally struggle with like the placement of the I and the E in like receive and peace precisely because of the fact that when the first time I heard that the rhyme like I before me I before C except that I before E except after C unless it rhymes with me. I think that's how the mnemonic goes. The first time I heard that was in an old Peanuts cartoon. So me seeing Charlie Brown fucking fumbling that shit, I thought to myself, okay, ain't no way that's supposed to be a real thing. I've never heard of that before in my life. But lo and behold, it does work as a really good rule of thumb. Hmm. Okay, this needs like a light blue metallic sheen. Maybe more saturated than that, just a tiny bit. Yeah, no, that doesn't work. But then maybe, hang on, surgeon gloves. Okay, now I'm getting a mix of blues, whites, greens. Okay, so maybe we do go for the maybe we do spring for the white gloves. On the other hand, hang on, surgeon slippers. Not slippers, surgeon foot covers. No, these are also generally kind of like this light blue. Unless, hang on. Unless I also make them... No, because if anything, they should be a darker color. Well, this is kind of a toughie. Hang on. Let me actually first let me save my work. Also, let me stretch my wrists real quick. Sometimes you do just gotta take a minute to let your body untense itself. It's messed up that you can actually undo a lot of tension and stuff just by working that muscle. It feels very counterintuitive to not need to relax it, but genuinely sometimes if like there is a muscle that is a little bit sore, working it out gently can help it feel a little bit better. Like I remember this hack, not necessarily a hack really, but this thing that I learned that if you have a tightness kind of like in between your shoulder blade, what actually can help to loosen that up is to do like pectoral stretches, like putting your hands between like the corner of a room and just like letting your pecs stretch out a little bit. Because apparently the pectorals are like the antagonist muscle for that region, and stretching them like that can actually help that region relax too. It's busted. Ooh, I like this color for the stethoscope. Okay, I think we're ready for shading. Need to be very low key on the shading though. I feel like being too aggressive with it is going to damage the balance of the picture. I mentioned yesterday that I have issues with the concept of moderation, or rather, I have issues practicing the concept of moderation. So I don't know. This feels like it might be a little bit of a challenge for me. Okay, then over here. Okay, like this. Okay. Now we can also do just like a little bit of a highlight out here. Yeah, just a little bit, I think will help a lot for a couple of these sections. Just to make sure that it's not just this vast expanse of the same old blue every inch, you know? Okay, it's gonna go like this, and then... Sort of like this? Yeah, that seems about right. Okay, and then maybe just a little bit of the stethoscope down here. Okay, this plastic sheet is gonna be the trickiest part of this whole thing. Okay, then we're gonna grab this part, and then we're gonna... That's a thing, actually. I need to focus first on the shadows that would fall behind this, and then on the shadows on top of it. Okay, so maybe expand this, and then... Whoops. Hang on, I meant to press the shift key while I did that. Okay, and then this is gonna kind of come in like this. I can feel it. This one's gonna be the death of me. Okay, then this is gonna come in like this, and then like that. That's actually coming together really well. I'm very proud of myself for that. Okay, then maybe down here, actually. Okay, then over here, that's gonna kind of fold inwards. Speaking of folding inwards, it feels like my brain's doing that, trying to render some of this plastic. But we ball regardless. Plastic is one of those things that feels very satisfying to render correctly, but it also takes like a lot of concentration to do so. Okay, then this like this. Okay, and now we can focus on something fun, which is the highlights for the plastic. So I'm picturing a small highlight here. No, that's not working. That doesn't seem right. Okay, then this is gonna go in like this. Okay, that seems right. I might actually do the highlights on a different layer on top of everything. No, that wouldn't work like that. This needs to go... It needs to have more of a curve like that. And then, like this... no, that's not right. That's better? That looks better. I was so unsure of whether it was better or not, my voice genuinely cracked. Ay, ay, ay. I do think it is very funny whenever my voice cracks. I don't know, usually I have such an easy, steady diction that it feels very rare for that to happen. Like, I'm genuinely unsure of myself when my voice cracks. It's like my poker tell. Okay, then over here. Okay, then this is just gonna kind of... peel over like that. The rendering on the plastic is coming together very well. I think it's coming through very clearly, the kind of texture that I'm trying to convey. I think the harsh white highlights is really what's bringing it together. Hmm. Like that, and then like this. I think what I could do right here is actually make this part a little bit like lighter, kind of coming up here. And then hit this with, what the? Oh, refer to editing layer only. No wonder it's doing all that weird shit. Alright, let's try this. Okay, so we just want a slightly lighter color than this. Maybe that's too much. That's too much, actually. Okay. Okay, and then also over here. Yeah, I think that's a fine job. All right, then next up, we need to actually, hang on. We do need to, okay, we need to paint this darker, and then we also need to paint this like so. Just to communicate that it is casting a shadow like that. But other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape. Just need to nab this bit right here. May smooth it out a little bit. There we go. Okay, this little bit here is bugging the crap out of me. Let me see if I can't work that into like a smoother shape. Okay. Let's continue our work with shading. And actually, come to think of it, maybe doing like this. Okay, that seems like it's gonna work. Okay. He reminds me a little bit of a Marimo. One of those little moss ball things. I don't know. I feel like taking care of like a slime creature would be a lot of like taking care of a Marimo. You know, keep it in a damp environment, keep it in a relatively cool environment. Doesn't feel like it'd be all that different. I feel like there'd be a lot of overlap in the care instructions for those guys. Okay, that's just gonna come in like this. No, that seems about right. Actually, I like that idea too. Just having that small, like, Hang on. That very light hatching effect on the limbs, I feel like gives it a lot of additional character. Okay. Actually, a little bit here could probably also do us good. Okay. We're gonna curve. Okay, let's move on to the legs, and then we'll do the head and the other limbs. We'll also need to do the highlights for the metallic parts. Okay, and then this is gonna move in backwards like this. Yeah, all right. Okay, then I guess we should probably do the gloves and the stethoscope next, huh? So for the gloves, I'm thinking just a very light kind of... Very similar to the foot cover thingies. Not sure what the technical name for those is. I do think it is just like foot covers. Do I think these might actually be holding the whole thing back a little bit. Yeah, I might have played it too fast and loose with the with the contour on the gloves here. Come to think of it. Yeah, that seems to work pretty good. We can just round off the thumb back. No, I think the thumb is fine as it is, quite honestly. I think we're fine there. Maybe not that dark of a shade, but definitely a darker shade than the shading color. Sort of like that. Hang on. Gotta just carefully go in and select slightly. Okay, that's not working. Why is that not working? Yeah, that'll do. And again, I feel like I have a tendency to overdo it during the line art stage with the wrinkles. I feel like I shoot myself in the foot with that a lot because I feel like the wrinkles have to have such a defined role that I end up kind of struggling to fill in the blanks whenever I have to deal with the consequences of adding them. It's not necessarily a bad problem to have, but it is a little bit annoying. Maybe you could call it over-enthusiasm. I feel like that's a good way to put it. I'm a little bit over-enthusiastic with the wrinkles. Okay, then next we'll do the mask. Me, what I'm talking about, planning my Jim Carrey movie marathon. Okay. Actually, come to think of it, if you were trying to like do surgery and you had this kind of head where you had like a jar occupying most of it, having a mask covering like half of your vision would actually be kind of an issue, huh? Yet another W for humans, the creatures with perfect faces. Of course, we wouldn't need these masks to begin with if we didn't have such a weird respiratory system, but what can you do? I say we like I even have a nose. That sounds like a problem for you, oxygen suckers. Not so for me. Okay. Now then. Let's make this part of the jar slightly darker. Maybe darker than that. No, something about that doesn't seem right. Maybe just a slightly darker... lighter than that, maybe. Something like this. And then what we can do here is we can add this patch of like shadow to where the slime would be clinging to the walls of the jar. Needs to be a little bit more dramatic in terms of like the bright parts for the slime. Yeah, like that. Ditto for the eyes. Have to be very drastic with those. It reminds me a lot of those like those funny little dog creatures with like the messed up proportions. The ones that have like huge beady eyes. Zoo pets? No, that's not it. I do think it had pets in there somewhere, but yeah, no, they had very distinctive eyes. I remember from what I recall. Okay. Oh yeah, I should probably shade parts of this while I'm at it. Okay, just darkening this part here. And that way we can use the normal color for the shade here. That should have minimal impact. Maybe actually just a little bit of extra impact right here. Holy crap, I popped off with rendering this plastic. You shouldn't pat yourself on the back too much, but sometimes it is important to recognize when you've cooked. Okay, then over here. Okay, then over here. No, it'd be more like this, honestly, where it would like puff out. I don't know. That feels right. Okay. I think the only thing left is the stethoscope and then some very simplistic background work. We're getting through this one in record time. Again, maybe I shouldn't be jinxing it so much, but can you blame me? It's exciting to see how quickly you go. Okay, then back here. Okay. Might actually just do a quick thing and add a little bit of extra oomph to the shadows for the gloves. Maybe if I use the soft eraser on this part here. No, that doesn't seem to work. Maybe the blender tool is the right move. Okay. And actually, I do have a highlight color for this. What I might do, actually, is I might deploy the noise brush, since I feel like that gives it a much better texture compared to maybe more density, slightly larger size. Higher density than that, maybe. Or wait, actually, I have an idea. So maybe less density, but bigger area, and then hit it with the highlights in strategic areas. So hang on. So as to demonstrate. Sort of like this. Okay. So then what we're going to do, or maybe actually the gouache brush might be good for this too. I'm going to try a couple of different things. Not quite, but also not wrong. Let me try some. Okay, then grab this. No, that doesn't feel right. Anything more like this. That's looking pretty good. I'm very happy with how that's coming along. Okay, just on the hip joints here. Maybe not there specifically. Hang on. Definitely feeling it around here. I think this one was the right move. Okay, and then something very similar for this segment here. Okay, and then just grab a couple of notches higher. And then... No, that looks weird. That looks weird. I don't know why, but that looks weird. Maybe the blending is what we need. So hang on. So like Painterly Blender. No, that doesn't look right. Maybe just the same thing but smaller. That might work. I think that's on the right track. Yeah, no. No. I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Maybe using a kneaded eraser for a couple of areas, so like maybe right here, for example. Maybe a darker shade of this color right here, just to really emphasize that this is like the underside. Okay, and I think the only part left is... Actually, hang on, let's just add manually a couple of these light pips on the bolts. Okay. I think the stethoscope is the only thing left, right? After that, it's just the background? Not bad. Oh, I do need to get rid of this little gap here. Do you think, like, if you had a Goo People hospital, they would say Slime 1-1, what's your emergency? Okay, then over here. No. Okay, then over here. And then we do something fun, which is that we're going to do some crazy work on shading for this part here. And actually, before I forget, I wanted to add some highlights like these ones to the jar up here. So sort of like this. Getting warmer, but not quite there just yet. Nope, that's not it. Maybe a watercolor brush. I hit it with a watercolor brush. We can make it work. Hang on. We can also do something similar for these other sections, too. Okay, nice. Oh, actually, I forgot to add to this chin part. I mean, if you could call it a chin. To this section here. Just a tiny little bit up here. You know what? I think it works out after all. I'm gonna leave it in. Okay. And actually just a little bit down here too. Just something for the old joints. Okay. Right, the stethoscope. I actually need to be a little bit more harsh in the shading for the stethoscope. Okay. And then even deeper shades of dark for the inside of this part here. Okay, then over here. Looks good. Maybe a little bit of extra darkness somewhere around here. Okay, and then a little bit of white highlights somewhere around here. Okay. And just a little bit here and there. For good measure. You know, a spoonful of medicine and all that. Or I mean a spoonful of sugar. Ideally, you're also taking the medicine in this case. But yeah, we are pretty much done with the actual character art. Let us save our work and I will take a drink. Okay. I actually have a pretty clear idea of what I want for the background. So I'm thinking, again, very bright colors. Almost like SpongeBob-like. So maybe as we... Hang on. Maybe with the gouache brush. Okay. Maybe a little something from over here. And we can also just erase little bits and pieces here where it should have an extra grab, like right there, for example. Kind of like that. Okay. And then we just keep going. We do a slightly darker layer on the next. You know, I'm thinking about this very old... Okay, very old might be pushing it. But this old, J-drama that I remember seeing posted on Tumblr a little bit a while back, called Blue Blazes. I remember it because I never actually got to see the whole thing. But I remember it had to do with basically this one dude who went to art university, and he's alright. He's actually pretty good. But the problem is that he entered university as more or less the same time as a bunch of dudes who would become absolute menaces in the industry. Like, he ended up joining the art university in the same department as fucking Hideaki Anno. And Anno has made some questionable decisions, but ain't nobody arguing that that dude cannot draw like a beast. Whoops. Actually, that looks pretty good from a distance. I should be proud of myself for that. But yeah, I remember it was very sympathetic. I want to see if I can catch it somewhere. God willing, it's on Tubi. It's on Poob. You can catch it on Global. That has to be one of the best memes that has come out of this the inane what do you call it, like live streaming service bubble that we've been undergoing as a society. Like genuinely, we have kind of phrased it before, right? Like it's not a new thought, certainly, because like I've seen it phrased before. Like other people have been making fun of startup names just being a word with like one of the vowels taken out, so it's shorter. Like for example, Tumblr. Tumblr's a prime example of that. But I feel like the whole Poob, Tubi, whatever the fuck thing is the most succinct and punchy way you could phrase it. Because yeah, all of these things sound like they're some kind of made up alien race that some cartoon in the 80s came up with. And all of them are real and all of them are trying to huck you money. Huck money from you? I don't know. The word huckster is a bit difficult to wrangle in other kind of notes and quotations and whatnot. Huck money from you? Oh. I called it bold and brash. Okay. And I think something that we can do as well is we can add a big double exclamation point somewhere. And actually what might be good for this is circular text. Not... Hang on, maybe? I don't know. What does all the way to the sun look like? That's not too fun, honestly. We need something with a more fun read to it. That doesn't quite fit. What about Death Knell regular? Whoops. No, that's also not quite what I'm thinking about. Ooh, this one could work. Just need to improve the character spacing a little bit. Increase that shit significantly. At this size, they don't read like exclamation marks, though. It's a little tough. Let's see what else we got in my bag of tricks. That could work, honestly. That's the Yakuza font, exclamation mark. Speaking of exclamation point... No! Why did I do that? Why did it... Hang on. Fuck. Alright, let's... Okay. That's fine, that's fine. The Yakuza font one isn't that far away. Just need to reduce the character spacing a little bit, and then increase the size significantly, reduce the character spacing more. You know what? Why am I messing around with the font? I could probably just draw this. Hang on. And I know just a ticket for it. Not quite like that. Lower this a little bit. Increase the size of this. Interesting. Okay. Might need to up the contrast on this a little bit. But it's already looking kind of clean. I remember everybody used to get on my case about me writing weird periods or weird exclamation marks. I think I grew out of it after sufficient correction, but it was a weird thing to be nitpicky about. I must have used them a lot in order for that to be that noticeable. Yeah, I like that. Let me put down my name on this, and we can call it a day. All right, I think that's the finishing touches on everything. I'm really happy with how this one came out. I don't know, it's got a much rougher style to what I usually use, but I think it suits it very well. Communicates the artistic purpose and everything quite nicely. I feel good about this. All right. Hi, Jupiter. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna end here things here for today. No rating today. All right. Take care, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And actually, tomorrow is the last day before the weekend. Hip hip hooray! Yeah, on Saturday we'll be playing Palm Gets Wi-Fi, and yeah, I hear that's a fun little game. But yeah, take it easy. I hope your Friday goes smoothly, and I will see you all on Saturday. Adios. Bye bye.